Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. Wouldn't be Hexlex if I wasn't coming at you with yet another Spright variant. This time we're coming back to Adventure Spright. Now lately I have been on, of course, the Fiend slash Yubel variant that utilizes the Nightmare Throne in order to add the Dark Beckoning Beast, and that did provide a lot of consistency. However, the Dark Beckoning Beast and as well as the opening of the 7 Spirit Gates, those two cards have both been semi-limited, which, while not by a lot, does still noticeably decrease the consistency that this variant of Spright is able to open. So I figured now was as good a time as any to try out some other variants. Not saying that the Fiend slash Yubel Spright deck is like dead, but certainly not, but I did want to try something else, and this seemed like a bit of a nice excuse. So, with Water Enchantress going back up to 3, I figured it was time to once again bust out Adventure Spright. So, naturally, the Adventure engine, as well as like the Fiend engine of like Dark Beckoning Beast, conflict because Dark Beckoning Beast is a very important effect on normal summon, and the Adventure engine says, well, you can't use the effect of normal summoned monsters if you're going to do adventure stuff. So the idea behind this engine in use with the sprites is that it works very well with the Nimble cards, of course, right? So we can utilize Nimble Angler in particular, sending it from the hand or deck to the graveyard to summon 2 of our level 3 or lower Nimbles. We not only have the limited, for some reason, well, we don't have the reason, but the limited Nimble Beaver, but we also have a full playset of Nimble Sunfish. I normally might not play a full playset of 3, but we are onto Angler, like I said, and if you're going to be on double Angler, then I really do think you want to have the ability to use both of them in one game, or even one turn. That's actually not even very difficult for a deck like this, because ideally, you know, we can always send the Angler off of the Sprint in order to get 2 level 2 bodies. We also have the Foolish Burial, but doesn't the second copy mean you'll just open it more often? Yes, and that's not even a bad thing. Thanks to the Adventure engine, we can go into Fateful Adventure, which we can use the, the second effect here. During your main phase, add a monster that mentions an adventure token, then send a card from your hand to the graveyard. This does send it as part of an effect, not a cost, so that will proc the Nimble Angler, which is very, very cool. So you can get more level 2 bodies on the field as you're setting up your adventure board, right? We are also playing a Melfi package, so we have the Penny as well as the Caddy here, alongside the Melfi of the Forest and the Herald of the Arclight in the extra deck. Otherwise, it's all a lot of pretty standard Spright stuff, right? We got the blues, the jets, the red, the carrot. Got 2 carrots and only the 1 red. I do like playing 2 of each when possible, but if I'm only going to be able to double up on one of them, I definitely prefer carrot. As well as, yeah, just a lot of pretty typical hand traps and stuff. The end boards that this deck can put out are pretty insane. You're looking at an average end board if you do open both the the adventure and the Spright stuff, which really all that takes is opening any level 2 monster. Doesn't even need to be a Spright monster. You're looking at ending on, of course, the adventure token and the Griffin Rider, in addition to Elf, IP, your setup for a Caddy into Herald of the Arclight alongside red or carrot. So that's a full board full of negates, ready to take on whatever your opponent's going to throw at you. Of course, you do still have to navigate that board of negates, and that is a non-zero factor. A lot of people, I don't know, sometimes a lot of people will try to say like, oh, you set up like 3 negates and now you just auto-win. And it's like, well, no, you do still have to use the negates at the correct point. And it's not always so simple as just like having the Omni negates, right? And there are some hands slash decks that can just play through a board state like that. So yeah, it's a lot more nuanced than that, as tends to be, right? So let's see here. We are over 40 cards for a build like this because we are playing stuff like the Nimble Angler, which I know I just said we don't mind opening, but ideally you still don't open it. None of the 3 Sunfish you want to open, like Melfi Penny you don't want to open, stuff like Fateful and Gamma Burst and Griffin Rider and Drinkaback are all things you don't want to open. So in that regard, I could even see going, like, upping the main deck count even above 42, like 44 or 45. But, I don't know. I'd probably just play more hand traps at that point, which we could use. We could throw in, like, a playset of Veiler or, like, 2 Veiler and a Ghost Ogre or something like that. So, let's see. Yeah, as far as this kind of a strategy goes, I will say that it does tend to be not as reliant on the one-card combos, which is like the main drawback. Now, that said, a deck that's reliant on two-card combos is far from unplayable, but in, you know, not just a format like this, but in 2024 Yu-Gi-Oh!, like, you really do have to ask yourself, like, okay, if I'm not playing a deck that has a lot of one-card starters, like, am I playing enough engine to make sure that I can consistently open plays, right? And I will say that I've felt a little bit of a struggle with that, playing this deck in particular. Now, I haven't played very many games, so I might just need a larger sample size, but despite what I was saying towards the top of the video here, I actually kind of suspect that Fiend/Yubel Spright is probably still just the best way to play the deck, even with Beckoning Beast and Gates at 2. But, you know, it's not always about playing the deck at its most optimal, or like the archetype. It's about trying different variants out and having fun along the way. Like, even if Adventure Spright isn't as good as Yubel/Fiend Spright, I still think it's cool. I still think it's fun. I had a good time playing it, and yeah, that's good enough for me. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to break down this list card by card. I just don't know if there's really a need to, just because, like, I already talked about a lot of the weird cards, highlighted the Nimble Sunfish. We are in a playset of that. 2 Nimble Angler, as well as, of course, the Nimble Beaver. We have the one of each Melfi, Penny, and Caddy. And otherwise, I feel like if you know Spright and Adventure decks, everything is pretty much here. So, yeah, I think we're pretty good for the deck breakdown. Let's just go ahead and start looking at some of this gameplay here. So normally I start off with a game that shows a good turn 1 combo, but I actually want to start off with the good back and forth game this time. And the next game, the second duel we're going to see, is going to show a good turn 1 combo. But I actually just came off this going second game against Ice Barrier. That was a pretty decent back and forth, so I wanted to show that off. So opponent's going to lead with normal summon Mirror Mage, link into Almirage. I definitely should have just chained Maxi to the normal summon of Mirror Mage. Because even if they weren't going to link into Almirage, if I thought they weren't for some reason, they'd probably use an activated extender from hand. This is just me being, I was going to say sloppy, but rusty is more the word I was looking for, but I guess also sloppy. Just forgetting that this was an aspect of Ice Barrier if you just normal summon Mirror Mage, right? So, oh well, not a big deal. We lose out on 1 draw, but it's not going to be like game ending or anything. Arguably, it's not even bad to force them to do freezing chains here, because now we've, like, committed them. Now, granted, they had the Ash Blossom anyway, but I think it's still worth talking about when the correct point to use Max C was here. There is an argument that, again, waiting to the chaining of freezing chains commits them more to the board, but I still like to use Max C a little bit earlier. I think, ideally, I should change it to the normal summon of Mirror Mage. Thankfully, even though they did Ash Blossom the Max C, our opponent doesn't have, like, a ton of plays here. It's just the Mirror Mage, plus Almirage, so that's only going to net them the Adamancipator Risen Dragite, not much else. They do get to draw a card off the Coral Dragon, and they are going to set a couple of cards here, so we're going to have to be mindful of that. Alright, drawing for a turn, Nimble Sunfish, not great, but it's a level 2 monster, and as with many Spright decks, often a level 2 monster is just about all you need. So I'm going to lead with the, I want to talk about this turn a little bit here. I led with the Rite of Armisair, thinking my opponent would negate it with the Dragite. I think they should have, but they actually didn't, which was pretty surprising. So I not only get the Adventure token, but I also get to special the Water Enchantress to my field as an extra body to potentially make plays with. Here, I'm going to summon her to go for the Fateful effect, and now they Dragite, which I think this is a misplay. I think if you were going to Dragite the Fateful, then you should have just Dragited the right and not given me the token and the incidental Water Enchantress body as well, but especially the token, right? So I'm going to normal summon the Sunfish and then link that off with the Water Enchantress of the Temple to go for the Sprint. Now that we've cleared the Dragite out of the way, I want to test for Ash Blossom, which the opponent does end up having. That, like I said, clears the way for the Foolish Burial, which can now send the Angler, and then we are good to go. This was a little bit of a risky play still, because if Callby was one of their face-down cards, then we would be in a lot of trouble. But it turns out they actually have a Floodgate. They have Tickboo. There can be only one. Which, funnily enough, is not very good against my deck. Now, it does stop me from going, like, Elf into Gigantic. That's probably the biggest thing I can't do under Tickboo, which is going to affect my play in the upcoming turns. However, I will say that I'm very glad it was this one and not, oh god, any number of other Floodgates it could have been, so Still get 2 bodies, I get Sunfish and Beaver. Gonna just use the Water Enchantress effect now for a little bit of deck thinning. From here, I'm gonna overlay the Beaver and Sunfish into the number 2 Ninja Shadow Mosquito. Gonna try to make that Zeus here. And if the Shadow Mosquito resolved, I could have also inflicted 6k damage along the way. Here though, the opponent has Imperm, so that's pretty bad. That's literally the worst case scenario for me here, because now the Mosquito not only doesn't put the counter on, but more importantly is not able to protect itself, so it will be destroyed by the attack. Thankfully, my opponent's turn 1 wasn't great, and yeah, it does not look like they have any follow-up plays, so yeah, like I said, just very grateful for that. So here, they're going to pass back to us. We draw Spright Carrot, which was a very good top deck, because now I can normal Penny and special Carrot to go into the Onibimaru Soul Sweeper. I don't know, I didn't actually specifically point this card out in the deck profile, but that's because this has been used in Spright a lot in the past. It's not as often anymore as the extra deck gets tighter and you splash more engines, but this particular deck, because Adventure doesn't have any extra deck cards, had the room for it. So I love playing Onibimaru Soul Sweeper. There's a ton of situations like this where it's very, very helpful just to be able to banish a card off the field. And then now we can battle with the Soul Sweeper and the Adventure Token for more damage. And now we are able to go into our Zeus. So now the Soul Sweeper banish is not permanent. The Dragite will come back during the opponent's end phase, so we will have to contest it during our next turn. But just having the Zeus online is so, so good here. So, alright, passing back over to our opponent. They're going to lead with Normal Summon Revealer, and I am just going to Zeus right off the bat here. Because the Revealer, it is a Spell Speed 1 activated effect, so definitely want to do it before it has a chance to activate that. And the opponent has demonstrated that these other cards in their hand are not really able to get them plays by themselves, so definitely fine just swiping the board there. No more Tick Boo to worry about. Dragite is back. I'm going to lead with the Rite of Armis here just to get the Spell Trap Negate out of the way. Although now that I think about it, I don't even think I needed to get this out of the way because I use all monster effects until, well, you'll see. So I'm going to normal summon Maxi. Yeah, for a lot of decks that Maxi draw would have been dead there. But for this one, we can normal Maxi, link it off with Zeus, summon Elf, Elf F, bring back Carrot, overlay Elf and Carrot. Like I said, this was the main thing that Tick Boo was stopping me from doing, was going Elf plus a card into Gigantic. Now, Gigantic for blue, blue to add Jet, we can special Jet, and we can grab the Gamma Burst. The reason why I say we didn't really need to proc the Dragite Negate early is because, one, Gigantic could just battle over this, and then we activate this and swing directly with these two for game. Or we could just activate Gamma Burst in the damage step where Dragite cannot negate it. So, since we already proc the negate though, I'll just use it early for extra damage, because why not? And even get an exact lethal with the blue there. So yeah, there we go. There's our first game here. Like I said, a pretty solid back and forth with Ice Barrier. Even though our opponent didn't have the best hand, they were still very, very... They did still play very well, rather, into our disruption with the limited amount of resources that they had. It just didn't seem like they had that great of an opening hand into our stuff. So, GG's to our opponent. We do still, of course, have a couple more games to take a look at here, though. So, we're going to go ahead and hop right into this next one here. Alright, our next opponent's going to be on Tempi, so we are naturally going to take the first turn. And this will be the game where I show off a pretty typical, I don't know, ideal / typical turn 1 combo line. So I won the coin flip, so I did not necessarily know that my opponent was going to be on Tempi, but I don't think that really would have affected my play here. So I'm going to lead with the Rite of Armiseer. Rite of Armiseer / Water Enchantress plus any level 2 monster is all it takes to full combo with this deck. But here I get to use the Water Enchantress as a nice little extra body as well. So gonna send the Angler from my hand. I talked about this during the deck profile, but yeah, by sending that with the Fateful Adventure, we can summon our level 2 monsters from deck. It is a bit of a disappointment that we opened the Beaver, because we can't really make use of the normal summon effect because of the Adventure Engine, and if we hadn't, I could actually go into Sprint here and get even more level 2 bodies. Like, it would actually probably just be a little bit too much at that point, so maybe it's a good thing we opened Beaver. But yeah, we have Blue and Jet out. Now I'm going to link off the Water Enchantress and the Gigantic for the Elf. I didn't even need to summon Enchantress. I could have just activated Fateful, but again, we'll make use of the extra body here, so... Now, Blue plus Jet are going to go into Melfi of the Forest, which will detach to add. I'm going to throw my starter in here, because why not? Going to start it for Red, and then Melfi of the Forest to add, of course, Melfi Caddy. Now I'm going to link the Red and the Melfi of the Forest into IP Masquerena. And then we can pull the Red out of the yard with the Elf to have on our field. Then, of course, during the end phase... Oh, and we'll equip the Draco back, because we never did that. And do a little bit of deck thinning with the Water Enchantress, because there's no reason not to. And then, yep, during the end phase, we can throw down this Melfi Caddy here. Pass back over to our opponent. Alright, they're going to lead with the Infinite Impermanence on our Wandering Griffin Rider. That is a little bit of a shame. It's following up with the Harpies Feather Duster, taking out both of our back row. I don't care about that at all, because the Draco back's going to come right back, and Fateful has been used for what it needs to be used for. So... Sangen summoning coming down here. I decided since my Griffin Rider was negated, I would just go for SP now for the banish. That might have been a little bit early, though. Although, to be fair, I didn't want their stuff to be unaffected, too. So, now Genroku's going to come down. I'm going to use the Melfi Caddy effect. I probably should have just activated Spright Red there, but I hadn't summoned yet off of Elf, which is why I didn't. I'm just going to go for the Herald here. I also kind of, I don't know. I didn't think I really needed to do this necessarily to negate the Genroku or the Fadra here, because it didn't really seem that threatening. Because there's still no Shundra, right? So it's not like they have access to like a tuner or anything at this point. Alright, gonna special the Jet off the Elf to get a starter for potential follow-up plays. Here's the Shundra. I will activate the Spright Red now, sending the Elf, that way I can negate and destroy it. But this does leave me noticeably open to one card in particular for them to have as their last card, and that is the Sangen Kaimen. So, yeah, I definitely should have played better here. I think my main misplay was going into the SP so early. I don't think I needed to banish Sangen summoning when I did. I think I could have let it activate, resolve, and then... Well, but that's the thing, though. You can't go into... You can't use IP during the battle phase. So, I kind of had to use... I felt like I had to use it on Sangen summoning, but... Yeah, this... I don't know. Because there's a part of me that wants to be like, oh, maybe I just couldn't have done anything. But I also don't like accepting that as an answer. I really want to... I don't know. I feel like I could have played these disruptions better. I mean, this is what I was kind of alluding to during the deck profile portion, right? It's not just about setting up a million negates. Having a million negates is not equivalent to an FTK, because you do not lose on the spot. Whether it be through just sheer extension or damage in this case, or through your opponent misplaying, which in this case I think I very likely did, you could still, you know, very easily win the duel. So that's a point I'll always drive home. It's something that, like, sometimes people like to challenge me on, but even if I have to use myself as the example, I will definitely drive this point home. That setting up a bunch of negates is not the same as an FTK, and... It's not a laughable notion to say you could play through it. So we have one more game I do want to show here before we finish off. So let's end with that one. Would you believe if I said that our final opponent for this video is also playing Tempi? Just saw the untapped stats recently. 30%! And that's Diamond and Master Ladder. Actually, no, on Diamond and Master Ladder, it's 36% play rate for Tempi. Bronze to Master is where it's 30%. So... here our Tempi opponent, and I think we did know it was Tempi. I wasn't paying attention. Oh, actually, look at that now on the log, can I? I think they won the coin flip. Yes, and they selected going second. So, between that and, of course, the Shifter, I knew I was playing against Tempi. Cool thing about Spright is that it can actually play under Shifter pretty decently. God, especially at a hand like this. Like here, I'm just going to make IP, keep Red and Carrot on the field, and then I have Ash and 2 Imperm as well. That's 5 negates! Plus the IP. That's 5 negates plus the IP. Insane. Absolute insanity. They're going to move straight to battle and then just pass. Because I guess, I don't know, maybe they figured they couldn't do anything? Like, maybe their only starter is a Sangen summoning, and then they realize, like, oh, Carrot can just negate that? I'm guessing that's what that was? Anyway. They're going to imperm my red during the standby phase, which I thought was a little curious. Maybe wonder if they had like a nib or something. So I'm going to go for my adventure token. Then I'm going to link the red and the IP off into Elf. Adventure F. They're going to Ash Blossom that, so no Wandering Griffin Rider. So I was like, okay. They're clearly up to something. I'm going to Elf for red, and they're going to Ghost Ogre my Elf. Which is funny, because not only does it not prevent my red from coming back, but you'll also notice my Elf is still on the field. Now, my opponent was probably wondering, huh? And you might be wondering, huh? What happened? Did the Elf not get Ghost Ogred? It did. It resolved. But remember what we made the Elf with? That's right. We just happened. Not even by... I wasn't even planning for that, by the way. I just needed to make a Spright Elf to, like, cycle my red back in. And so I was like, yeah, this IP is just 800 attack. I'll just use this as a material. But because we use the IP Masquerena as a material to make the Spright Elf here, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And that does include Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. So they're just going to concede right after this. And to be fair, it would be trivially easy for me to OTK from this point. Simply make a gigantic blue jet Gamma Burst. I don't even think you need to do all that, but yeah, would not be hard to figure out. So there we are. That is going to do it for these games as well as this video. Gotta thank you, as always as ever, for sticking around and watching all these duels. Let us move now to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's again free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.